You know how sometimes you're just wading through information, trying to get a handle on what really drives certain industries? It could be pretty overwhelming. Well, that's kind of what we aim for here on the Deep Dive. Cutting through that complexity to give you the core insights, the really interesting bits straight from our sources. And today, we're diving deep into something you might not think about every day, but it's huge. The global clothing and fashion management software market. Basically, it's the hidden digital tech that keeps fashion brands running smoothly, from design to delivery in this super fast world.
Exactly. And the details we're looking at today, they come from a really thorough report by Cognitive Market Research. So our goal here is to pull out the most crucial bits about how this market's growing, why it's growing, and give some context to these, frankly, quite impressive numbers, help you understand the story behind them.
Okay, let's get into it then. Let's unpack these numbers because they really paint a picture. The report says this market brought in nearly, $2.5 billion in 2021?
That's right, 2,498.88 million to be precise.
Wow, okay. But the projections are where it gets really wild. It's expected to hit over $3.4 billion by 2025, and then jump to a massive $6.7 billion, 6,704.4 million by 2033.
Wow.
That's a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 8.572%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a market more than doubling in size in just over a decade. That signals a major shift, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And those big global numbers, they really tie back to one core thing, the massive digital overhaul happening across fashion. We're talking operations, supply chains becoming incredibly complex, the whole retail experience. And it's not just the giant corporations, it's the entire industry adapting, becoming more digital from the first sketch to getting that item into your hands.
That's a great point. It's everywhere. So let's break that down. Where is this happening geographically? Where's the growth concentrated? This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Definitely. Let's start with North America. It's the current leader, and it looks set to stay that way. We're seeing it go from about $945 million in 2021 up to over $2.4 billion predicted by 2033.
Wow, $2.4 billion just in North America.
Yeah, and within that, the U.S. is the giant, obviously, going from roughly $790 million towards almost $2 billion itself. Canada's looking strong, too, set to grow from about $97 million to nearly $270 million. And Mexico from around $58 million up to $150 million. Big numbers across the board there.
Okay, so North America is dominant. What about across the Atlantic in Europe?
Europe's also a very significant piece of the puzzle. It was valued at nearly $587 million back in 2021. And the forecast sees it hitting almost $1.5 billion by 2033.
So solid growth there, too. Any particular countries leading the charge?
Yeah, you see strong performance from the big economies. Germany is projected to hit over $333 million. The UK, around $203 million. France, about $164 million. And then you've got others like Italy, Spain, even places like Sweden and Switzerland showing really substantial markets by 2033. It's quite widespread.
Impressive. Okay, North America, Europe. What about Asia Pacific? That's often a high-growth area.
Absolutely. And that's definitely the story here. Asia Pacific is showing really strong growth. It started around $617 million in 2021, similar to Europe's baseline.
Right.
But it's projected to surge past Europe, reaching over $1.8 billion by 2033, almost tripling.
Wow. Which countries are driving that?
Well, China is a huge engine, expected to grow from $176 million to over $535 million. Japan's also significant, looking at $300 million, but India is really one to watch. The report highlights it as surging from about $89 million to nearly $290 million. That's phenomenal growth.
That is surging, shows the digital adoption happening there.
Exactly. And you also see strong contributions from South Korea, Australia, Singapore, Southeast Asia as a whole. It's a very dynamic region for this tech.
Okay, so we've covered the big three regions. What about the rest of the world? South America, Middle East, Africa. Let's quickly touch on those. South America.
South America is expanding nicely, too. From about $162 million up to roughly $450 million by 2033. Brazil's a key player there, expected to reach $169 million, and Argentina around $79 million. Solid growth.
And the Middle East.
Middle East shows good momentum as well, growing from about $127 million to nearly $350 million by 2033. Saudi Arabia is leading there, projected at over $91 million.
Got it. And finally, Africa.
Africa, while starting from a smaller base of around $60 million in 2021, is projected to grow significantly too, reaching about $165 million by 2033. South Africa is the main driver, looking at nearly $69 million, with Nigeria also showing notable growth towards $27 million.
So it really is a global phenomenon then.
It really is. What's fascinating here is how truly widespread this expansion is across every single continent. It underlines just how fundamental this digital shift is for the entire fashion industry, everywhere.
So bringing it back to the listener, what does all this actually mean for you? Why should you care about, market numbers for fashion software?
That's the key question, right? Look, it's not just about dollar figures on a report. It's about what those figures represent. It means fashion brands are getting smarter, faster, more agile. They're using this tech to respond to trends quicker, manage their inventory better, reduce waste.
And handle those complex global supply chains more effectively.
Precisely. It means they can design, produce, and deliver clothes more efficiently. So that impacts everything from the variety you see online, the speed of delivery, even potentially the cost and sustainability efforts. It's a deep, fundamental digital change in how the whole industry works.
Right. So these software systems, they aren't just some back office tool. They're actually vital. They're empowering these brands, making them digitally sharp. And that ripples right through the supply chain to the experience you have as a customer.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so let's quickly sum up what we've covered in this deep dive. The global clothing and fashion management software market isn't just growing, it's booming. It's become a core part of modern fashion. It's quietly running the show behind the scenes, the digital operations, the supply chains, the retail side. It really shows how critical that digital backbone is, even for creative fields like fashion.
Absolutely. And the sheer scale is worth remembering, a multi-billion-dollar market that's expanding consistently right across the globe. It's a powerful indicator of how deeply embedded tech now is in this industry.
So here's something to think about next time you're browsing a new collection online. Or maybe you get a super fast delivery from your favorite brand. Just consider the invisible software working behind the scenes, making all that happen. This deep dive really shows how a market that sounds niche is actually a powerful engine transforming a global industry. And that maybe raises a bigger question, doesn't it? What other industries that we think of as traditional might be going through similar quiet digital revolutions right now, really reshaping our world in ways we're maybe only just starting to understand?
That's a fascinating thought. And just to be clear for everyone listening, all the figures and projections we discussed today are sourced from that comprehensive report by Cognitive Market Research.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're pulling back the curtain on something vital but maybe a bit unseen in fashion, the clothing and fashion management software market. Our mission, to sort of unpack how this digital backbone is really changing the game for the industry.
Exactly. And it's more than just software code. We're talking agility, efficiency, basically staying competitive. We'll look at what's driving brands to adopt it, the hurdles they face, and some really interesting trends for the future.
Okay, let's get into it then. Fashion moves so fast. What's the main thing pushing brands towards these, complex software systems?
I think the core driver is just the sheer need for efficient operations. I mean, think about it. Inventory turns over constantly, seasons change fast, designs evolve. Good software automates a lot of that inventory, production planning, supply chain stuff, aims to cut down manual errors and, crucially, speed up getting products to market.
That makes a lot of sense operationally. But what about the customer end of things? How does it impact that?
Ah, right. That's where you see the massive influence of e-commerce and, omni-channel retail. Online shopping is huge, obviously, so brands need systems that give them centralized control, pricing, customer interactions, inventory levels, making it consistent whether you shop online or in a physical store. It creates that seamless experience.
And helps boost sales, I imagine.
Directly, yeah. It's about being there for the customer, however they shop.
And I guess for smart decisions in such a quick industry, real-time data is key.
Oh, absolutely. Indispensable. The need for live data, for analytics, it's pushing companies to get these integrated tools. So teams can track sales trends, what customers like, inventory movements, basically as it happens. And what's really cool is how these insights let companies react, really quickly to market shifts, making informed decisions almost on the fly.
It sounds very powerful, but, it's never quite that simple, is it? What are the big roadblocks stopping businesses, maybe smaller ones, from jumping in?
That's a really important point. Cost. Often the biggest challenge is just the high upfront cost of getting it all set up. You've got licenses, maybe customization, training people, integrating it. It adds up,
Yeah.
especially tough for smaller brands or startups maybe working with tighter budgets.
So a big initial investment. What else makes it tricky? Is it just the money?
Well, no. Another constraint, and it can be a real headache, is trying to get this new software to work nicely with existing systems, legacy systems. Lots of companies might still be running on older ERPs or basic inventory tools, trying to connect modern fashion software. Well, that can mean complicated data migration, compatibility problems, maybe even disrupting day-to-day operations for a bit.
Right, a potential nightmare for the IT department.
It can be. And then finally, sometimes there's just not enough technical know-how in-house, or maybe not enough training, which means businesses can't really leverage all the advanced features effectively, and that hits their return on investment.
Okay, so there are definite challenges. But despite those, what trends are really pushing things forward? What's shaping the future here?
Yeah, so the industry is really leaning into cloud-based systems, SaaS software as a service. These platforms mean you can access them from anywhere, the upfront costs are generally lower, and they scale up or down easily. The subscription model helps ease that financial burden too, avoids that initial sticker shock we talked about.
Makes sense. And I bet AI and machine learning are showing up here too.
Unquestionably, this is where it gets, I think, really transformative. AI can help predict what customers will want, sometimes with startling accuracy. It optimizes inventory, helps personalize recommendations, even enables things like automated visual search. You see an item, the AI finds similar ones. These tools are really changing customer engagement and making supply chains smarter.
And one last thing, something that's becoming critical everywhere, sustainability.
Hmm.
How does software fit in?
Indeed.
Hmm.
It's huge now. Brands are using management software to track, say, eco-friendly material sourcing, monitor their carbon footprint along the supply chain, and also just make sure they're meeting all the environmental regulations. Transparency, accountability software is evolving to deliver that.
So wrapping this up, what's the key takeaway for you, our listener, maybe seeing similar shifts in your own field?
Well, in summary, it's clear the clothing and fashion management software market is changing fast, really fast. Brands need to be agile, accurate, sustainable, and technology is absolutely central to making that happen. Yes, cost and complexity are still hurdles, but the move towards digital tools, especially in the cloud, feels pretty unstoppable.
We hope this deep dive gave you some real food for thought on how tech is fundamentally reshaping even something as tangible as the clothes we wear.
Yeah, and maybe a final thought to leave you with, thinking about how powerful AI is becoming in fashion, predicting demand, optimizing supply chains. How could your industry maybe use similar intelligent tools to tackle its own unique challenges and perhaps push towards more sustainable ways of working?